Hi, I'm Brian Santo, the editor-in-chief of CED magazine. This
is Mike Robuck, senior editor with CED.
And we're at the Cable-Tec Expo show in, where the hell are we?
Orlando.
That would explain the sweat in the palm trees. What we've got going on here this week is a lot of great new technology. This is probably the first show in a long time where they're really talking about going not just 3 years into the future, but 5, maybe even 10. You are going to see a bunch of sessions about DOCSIS and CCAP, yes?
Yeah, I think one of the big things at this show is going to be the CCAP platform. Actually going to have products on display. At the cable show, we knew that there were some products there. They were behind the scenes. But this will be the first time companies like Aris, Cisco, CommScope, actually Harmonic are actually showing those products to the masses such as ourselves. So that's going to be important. This whole CCAP initiative actually ties into the IP video migration as well, being able to enable what they want to do in IP. CCAP is going to be a big part of that denser platform, less power in the past. So kind of things that we've been talking about for a while, I think are really firming up here. So I think that's going to be one thing that we can keep an eye on. The other thing is the DOCSIS 3.1 specifications. Now we can officially call it DOCSIS 3.1. So really the next iteration of DOCSIS, and it's going to be huge. Obviously the industry needs it. They know that they need to get to like 1 gigabit, maybe even 10 gigabits at some point when you have all these video streams and data sharing the same network. So hopefully we're going to get the actual details of how that might take place. But like you said, Brian, instead of talking about technology down the road, I think the cable industry has realized that we really have to have firm plans in place, even though those might vary a bit from cable operator to cable operator.
From what I'm hearing in the sessions I've already attended to here on Tuesday, they're talking about moving to all IP, but they have so many options that they're really not quite yet certain which options might be the best ones for doing that. There's all sorts of different customer premise equipment that they could use with different capabilities, different levels of capability that would give them different options on how to actually deploy more services and get more bandwidth to the home. They're also talking about how to get more fiber deeper into the network and get more bandwidth to people that way. And of course they have 3, 4, 5 different options there as well, with various flavors of PON, with EPOC, with DOCSIS provisioning over Ethernet. They have so many options, and it's not entirely clear which are going to be the best technologically and which ones they can actually afford to implement.
Well, it's really a lot of due diligence, and it's going to vary from Time Warner to Comcast to a Tier 2 to a Tier 3. What do you have out in the field? How much longer can you get life out of that? If you're a smaller operator, you can't go in and just rip things out. You have to kind of have a planned approach. Even with Time Warner Cable, you're a switched digital video cable operator. Comcast, you're relying on the DTAs. These paths have kind of split a little bit as we move towards IP. So it's really figuring out what works best for you, what works best for the spectrum that you have now, and what do you want to do with it? Do you want to have that huge super gateway in the home? Do you want to go with maybe a softer launch of a home networking system that doesn't do everything? But then the other side of that, of course, now is that we're getting these IP devices that are showing up in the homes. The dynamic has changed because these things show up in the homes and they're pulling in content. And the last thing you want is your customer to be frustrated with something that doesn't work because they're going to go to somebody else that they think can help them enable that product.
Absolutely. The other big thing that I think we're going to see here on the show is green. And I'm not just talking this ugly AstroTurf that they've got here on the floor. We're talking green technology. Energy consumption is a huge issue. In fact, they're actually talking about how the supply might not be there to be able to cover the demand when they're trying to roll out new services in some of the smaller markets. If it's not a smaller market, it might be a market that's already got a huge energy pull, or in a market that's far away from an energy source. So they're doing a ton of work on that sort of thing. And they've got the Green Pavilion here, and a lot of the same companies involved, Aris, Harmonic, the MSOs, Comcast, Time Warner Cable, are all interested in getting those operating expenses cut as best they can.
Well, and that, I guess what I like about that is that's an initiative actually that started a few years ago with SCTE. NCTA now is looped in on this, Cable Labs is looped in on this. It really is an industry-wide effort to try and make this a more green industry. A lot of benefits, obviously, for the cable operators as far as saving on power costs, equipment running better, taking up less space. At some point, you're talking about enabling all of these services. You only have a certain amount of rack space in some of these nodes out near neighborhoods and things like that. So just this whole movement of we're going to do a better job, we're going to do a cleaner job, and it's going to be more cost effective in the end.
And the SCTE is going to be doing a lot of things that you're not probably going to see on the show floor. They're doing a lot of groundwork on all sorts of energy management initiatives to be able to take everything from the CPE to the equipment in the head end, the network itself, how to manage the network for when there are power outages, how do you keep the network going and still draw less power. A lot of interesting things are going to be doing there, a lot of standards work that'll probably end up coming out of that. So it's a really interesting subject. Ask the guys in the SCTE Green Pavilion. So that's just some of the great things you're going to find here on the show floor, at the sessions, at Cable-Tec Expo in Orlando. We're CED. If you're not here, read our magazine next month. We'll have a complete issue filled with all the information that you would like to hear about from this show.